this. Is there anything you want the fans to know or any last thing you want to say to them before we get to see this series tonight?
This is where the fun begins.
Hold on. Okay.
Hey everyone, Jedi Mike 7 here, and we are back, y'all. We are back. We're back. Thank you guys for stopping by in the comment section down below. Thank you guys. I'm here with my co-host today, Jay King. Jay King, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And this is a stream that has been before and after this film came out, very long awaited, very long needed to have the talk, and now that it's out, it's time to talk about this.
Yes, yeah. For those of you guys who don't know what we're talking about here, there's a little film that's causing a lot of controversy right now in the film space. Maybe you're a Marvel fan or anything, and that is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania here. Give me just a few seconds. Obviously you can see I'm in a new setup and everything.
Yeah, brand new Jedi setup here.
Yeah, so we leveling up in the space, right?
Yeah, leveling up, shining like the Godfather right now.
Yeah, shouts to Turtleneck Gang. But no, yeah, we are. This is the film Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This was a film that came out actually just yesterday. I had the privilege of watching this film earlier before the Rotten Tomatoes score came out. So me personally, my reaction come from a really there was no predetermined thing other than like maybe just the first initial tweets after the premiere that happened about a week prior and everything like that. But we're gonna be discussing all those things and whether my thoughts about the film, what Jay King is thoughts about the film is and everything, or we're gonna have some agreements or disagreements. Definitely we'll probably have disagreements, but we're gonna have a discussion and everything, and I'm actually gonna be dropping anyone who have seen the film, I'll drop the link down below and we can have that discussion about what was your thoughts about the film and everything. So this is what this whole stream is dedicated to today. Yes, we understand there's a lot of the topics that's happened, such as The Flash, which was by far the best best trailer that came out of the Super Bowl. But that deserves its own breakdown, analysis, and everything like that. And because of right now it's happening with Ant-Man, I want to give this full undivided attention. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp is the third in the Ant-Man trilogy, but also the first film beginning of Marvel's Phase 5 in the overall saga of the multiverse saga or the MCU, after we just concluded the Phase 4 with Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and now we're about to be going into this new phase that's going to be also conclude after Phase 5, which is going to be Phase 6, leading into Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. Now, obviously this is the third film, so there was a lot of things that had to tie up some loose ends and everything, but also this film had a lot right on his back, because not only that this was the third of this supposed trilogy, this was the film that was actually going to be catapulting the main supposedly the main bad guy, a main villain of the MCU moving forward, which was Kang the Conqueror. And Kang the Conqueror, he's been level up to be this type of Thanos level villain and everything like that. And whether he deliver or not, we're going to be discussing that. But I just want to kind of give you just the basis of this film and everything, where Ant-Man or Scott Lang, Cassie, and everyone, they basically are living their lives and everything. This is after Endgame, and unlike as we've seen in previous shows and films of post Endgame, where heroes are kind of dealing with the trauma and the aftermath of what they've lost. Apparently, Ant-Man's like the only one who seems to be benefiting from Endgame and everything. He has his own podcast. He has his own best-selling book and everything. Hope
Which
is
you can buy
now
on Amazon soon.
What? Say again?
Which you can actually buy on pre-order for now on Amazon. And you can actually buy the book soon.
Right. Yeah. So this is like, so you want other just more immersive content, you'd be able to do that. They also have Hope, who's also being successful, a CEO for a company, may help dealing with world crisis and going on in the world using PIM particles, everything. But unlike that, you also have Cassie, who's now older now because they've been post 5 years since Endgame and everything. And now here we are trying to deal with Cassie. Now she's getting out of prison, ironically, because of that's where we basically got introduced to Scott Lang in prison. So it's kind of just starting from where we started with this trilogy. Now look where we are now. But then apparently Cassie was, since when they were all gone in the 5-year gap, she was trying to find them in the quantum realm, right? That's where Ant-Man was when everything went, got blipped and everything. He survived. So she created a device to send a signal into quantum realm and everything. And Janet, who spent 30 years in the quantum realm, is now kind of been reserved by what her experiences in the quantum realm and everything with her, with Hank Pym, her daughter, Hope. And now when Cassie's now having a signal, she's like, wait, no, shut it off and stuff. And apparently because of Cassie, led to them being sucked everybody into quantum realm. And that's where we have basically the premise of the film being there for the remainder of this film. And shout out to, first we'll get into that. Shout out to people in the chat. Shout out to Wealth Talk Productions. Shout out to Wally, Daryl Long. Shout out to my big sis Sherelle in the building. Nice to see you. And I also want to preface by saying this too. This is a spoiler discussion. I think, yes, we want to make sure you guys have enough time to watch this film, but because of everything going on, I feel like it's best that we cannot really go in detail unless going what specific events that happened in this film. So I just think it's fair to say, if you have not seen this film, please don't go watch the film and everything. It will be on Disney Plus very soon.
Okay, sir.
What do you call it? Shot, not whatever, but that's what's gonna happen. But yeah, it'll be on Disney Plus in April. But yeah, I've done anything. Yeah. So anyway, now because of this, when they get stuck in the quantum realm and everything, now we have everybody separated trying to get out, but they're all supposedly trying to run away from this main big guy. Everyone's so afraid of this person. Who's that person? That's Kang the Conqueror, right? Kang the Conqueror, right? And this is the premise of like everyone saying that he is trying to basically get out of the quantum realm, but he has Cassie under his his captivity and stuff. So he make a deal with Scott Lang saying that, hey, listen, if you get me out of here, then I'm able to let you and your daughter free and everything like that, right? All those sorts of things, but obviously, he doesn't be a person of his word and everything like that. But as we get into this, I just want to start off by talking about some of the performance in this film, right? The big one is Jonathan Majors, right? You got Jonathan Majors, who is guy who can be promised to be the next Thanos level villain, and also the villain of Avengers Kang Dynasty and all this stuff, right? And I'll just start off before I let Jay King just talk about his just overall premise of the film. You've seen my reaction on my YouTube shorts and stuff. You've seen some comments and stuff I made. Obviously, really did not. I found this film very disappointing in terms of not really any of the performances, but really the story. And we're gonna go into that in details and everything. But I really felt disappointed in terms of how this film was hyped and how this film was being positioned, where they were trying to say this is the Civil War of this new phase and everything like that. You know, some films that we've seen before in terms of the impact they had in overall other films, but I felt this to me left more to be desired as a film fan. And now, obviously, this film caught a lot of controversy because the Rotten Tomatoes score is now rated as the second lowest rated MCU film, second to Internals, right? Now that's a big jump. Now, even then, much as just talking about how great Marvel is, even then, much we can complain about Internals and this film, the fact that the lowest ranking film is Internals and it still was a decent movie just tells you just the caliber, at least, of Marvel films and how fortunate we are, right? Because it's not saying that it's unwatchable, whatever, but this is to me, I felt really disappointing. And I think a lot of people have been divisive. A lot of people say, hey, I like this film. The critics, you guys are not fans. You don't know what you're talking about. And someone who is a fan and also a critic, I say that's bullshit. So, but yeah, I'm gonna let Jay King go talk about his overall impressions of the film, and then we're actually gonna go into the deep, details and spoilers about what we, agree and disagree about how we felt about what they displayed in the story.
Okay. Well, for me, I mean, as you guys know, I usually give things the benefit of the doubt when it comes to most films. And when it came to this one, being the potentially final film in the Ant-Man trilogy, they teased that they might work on a fourth one, who knows? But also the first film of Phase 5, the introduction to Kang the Conqueror, the actual Kang, not like the theater kid, he who remains that we met in Loki, which, speaking of Loki, we'll get to that in the spoiler stuff, but meeting the actual big bad that will show up in not only Loki season 2, but also potentially in other stuff, but more importantly, Kang Dynasty, and depending on how Kang Dynasty goes, most likely Secret Wars as well. He is the next big bad after Thanos. We all knew that was going to happen the second that Kang or even a version of him showed up in Loki. We knew that was going to be the case. So I was looking forward to a few things when it came to this film, because one, I was looking forward to Jonathan Majors and his performance as Kang, but two, I was looking forward not to this film being the beginning of the phase, but more to it being the end of a trilogy of films that I actually have enjoyed. I know a lot of people give crap to the Ant-Man films for being, silly and, nonsensical in some senses, even though we're dealing with a trilogy about a guy who can shrink to the size of an ant and grow to the size of a skyscraper, and who can control ants with his minds. But I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat. But for me, I've always liked these Ant-Man films. And I say the core part when it comes to it has always just been the performance by Paul Rudd and his portrayal of Scott Lang, Michael Douglas and his portrayal as an older Hank Pym. Every character that we've seen so far, but in the past 2 movies until this film, I have always liked them, even when a majority of the audience were just like, whatever about them until this film came out. So there were expectations coming from me going into seeing this film. And again, as Mike said, like, there's going to be a lot of, disagreements, agreements, like, switching between, like, is this a good film? Is it a bad film? Is it watchable? Is it unwatchable? Is this a good start? Is this a bad start? Was Kang wasted? Was he not? Like, we'll talk about all that. But in my honest opinion of the film, just if I were to say anything without saying anything of the spoilers, which we will talk about soon, if I were to say anything, this is a film that definitely does leave a lot to be desired, but I don't think that this is at all a bad film. Are there some things that could have been workshopped a little bit? Yeah. But outside of like 2 gripes I have with this film, I still ended up enjoying everything about this film. The fact that we didn't waste time getting to the quantum realm, that we didn't waste time. Well, I mean, we got introduced to Kang in the beginning, and just to say, it takes a minute to get to him. But, Jonathan Majors' performance, he kills it with this imposing, unhinged character that you just know is going to snap at any moment and subsequently snap somebody's body at the same time. But yeah, Like, he killed it with that performance. Catherine Newton coming in as an adult Cassie, I was, trying to be like, okay, how am I going to feel about, the young girl who was always the heart of Scott Lang now being a teenager close to young adult, as Cassie, I think, is like 17 or 18 in this film. But I think she did a pretty good job, portraying, like, still having the heart of the character that we saw as a child in the past two films, just now a little more mature and pretty much the Cassie that I know her to be when it comes to being staturate or, all her other personas and everything from the comics. So again, there is a lot that I like. Are there some things I would definitely change? Yeah, there's like maybe 2 or 3 things that I would change. Would I say it's unwatchable? Hell no. Is it a great film? Not great. It's good, but there are definitely things that could be fixed. But I wouldn't say that this is an unwatchable film. Like, I think when it comes to these Ant-Man films, and especially this one, I think don't listen to the hype momentum of, oh, this is the Civil War for Ant-Man, or, oh, this is the Infinity War for Ant-Man. Like, no, just go in to see an Ant-Man film or to see a Marvel film or to see the introduction of Kang. Don't expect this big spectacle, especially when it's not a huge Avengers film or a huge like crossover film. It's basically just Ant-Man and his family versus the guy that we know will be back, or at least a version of him that will most likely be back when it comes to the next Avengers film, and of course Loki season 2 later this year. But for me, again, and I know I went all long with this one, and I'll probably go a bit longer with my discussions with other stuff in this film, but I say rating wise, just like letter rating, C+, B- for me in a case. I don't think it's a bad film. It's not the greatest, but I'd say it's like it's in a mix between either my second or first favorite Ant-Man films. And it's in that middle ground because I can't really determine. Maybe I'll determine it later on, maybe a second rewatch, or when it comes out on Disney Plus, I'll be able to determine whether it's my second favorite or favorite. But yeah, I got on long enough. You go back to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, because me with this film, I had the biggest issue I had was with the story. I was really disappointed walking out because I was looking forward to this film. The same way how my feelings towards this film, I'm gonna equate to another film that came out in Phase 4, which was Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, right? Because yes, there's a lot of things. There was hype, there's anticipation, especially even from where this character, we find Kang, which is played by Jonathan Majors. We've seen him before in the Loki series, right? And we are in this whole thing about the multiverse and all this stuff like that, right? And to have this this type of exposition that needs to be not only be told but explained, right? And we're not really seeing the payoff of that exposition over many other films, nor some Disney Plus shows, right? And my thing with this is now, I feel after this film, what I saw what other people was talking about is that the magic of the MCU films now has been lost. In terms of like, when Marvel comes out, you say, hey, you don't want to miss it because this is an event film, right? Now, all of a sudden, just now, it's almost like, oh, okay, here's another episode. I might miss it, whatever. Hey, that wasn't a good episode. But hey, we got the season finale, right? It just felt like and even though as much as everything being connected, they equate it to being like a television series, but still, content is content, right? Whether it's a crappy television series or a crappy movie, it's just whether have you executed a story that you wanted to tell, and also the things that you established in the beginning in terms of what to look forward to and different arcs of this overarching story you presented to us, and that you're not being consistent on it. And also plot points are not adding up to each other. And then when you're trying to give it to us, you say, oh, you need to accept this and make and tell and believe us this makes sense. When we're telling you as an audience, it doesn't, right? And the thing about this is, as us as film fans, because listen, the film, as much as we can want talk about it, like, you're not targeting me, right? You're not targeting, J. King and everything. We know the content that they're showing. We know the comics and everything like that. It's not saying, oh, if the Marvel movie, you need to do a better job trying to sell us what's going on, right? That's not the case here. The case here, you need to show, if you're targeting some people like my fiance who might be just a fan of Marvel movies but doesn't know the whole detail and plot and the lore and everything, that's what you need to target. And if I'm as someone who's reading the comics and I'm not seeing the dots being connected and stuff not making sense. How do you think she's gonna watch this film and see, oh, that makes sense, whatever, right? And as a fan, I'm thinking that for as Marvel fans, it's like they're telling you now that mediocrity now is the standard that you need to accept in terms of content, and that we're gonna put more investment in our Disney Plus shows than our films. Now, you are seeing Kevin Feige now course correcting with his films and his slates because of the aftermath that happened with the last 2 years with Phase 4. Like, for example, this is I'm going a little off topic of the film, but in the grand scheme of things, the fact that Disney Plus shows are now being delayed and given more time to to flesh out their stories and be between films instead of just dropping two or three shows happening at the same time, and also just having a lot of content, but having quantity instead of quality, right? That was my issue. But with this, I felt the logic in this film didn't make any sense to me. I felt things that they set up in the beginning, especially like with Loki, and with this character, with the Kang variant, because we see the previous variant, He Who Remains and stuff, before, and I felt what they did with his character is that they paid him off in Loki series finale with him, explaining what was going on and stuff, which I thought that was a phenomenal scene for him and everything. That was our first introduction of Jonathan Majors. But the fact that there's some things that didn't pay off, but then it's just like, wait, you're breaking your own logic in terms of the science of everything in the quantum realm, and all of a sudden, like, as a villain, it's the same thing as Thanos. Have you established, hey, okay, listen, don't tell me I'm supposed to expect this person to be the big bad of it all and everything, right? Show me. And to me, I felt there was a lot of monologuing with his with his character, but more importantly, I felt like there was like some scenes where it's like he just totally forgot some of the abilities that he had in the beginning of the movie, and it just wasn't adding up. But hold on. Shout out to the people in the chat. Shout out to Jordan in the building, man. Shout out to Mandrell. I'm gonna be putting the link in later on when we can get it through our discussion and everything. But that was my issue with this film, was that it was really inconsistent, and to me, I just felt this, just as I'm just watching this film, I wasn't getting fully engaged, other than really with Jonathan Majors. He was a saving grace of this film. And after this film is over, you can't answer this question for me, Jay King. I don't know if you're in there in the back. All right, Jake, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. My question is, like, as a fan watching this film, what arc did few of these characters actually had in this film, right? For example, this is called Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's again Ant-Man and the Wasp. You have, not only did you have Janet, who was like the original Wasp and everything, but you also have Hope, who she was also one of the main female leads in this whole entire franchise. What arc does she had in this film? If anything, you can count how many, like, by the palm of your hand, how many lines she had in this film, right? And I felt like I kind of felt just like, okay, is it the fact that we have too many things happening in this movie where, okay, well, we got to shelve her in order to serve Kang and serve the other storylines, but she's still a vital character in this whole Ant-Man trilogy, all right, or supposed trilogy. So I just felt like that was kind of consistent. Again, having Cassie Lang. Listen, we know that also this character has been recast, by another actress in Endgame and everything. But we follow Cassie's storyline in the first two films, but now here she is now coming to her own and being her own hero. They didn't really give her a name in this film. I don't think they call her Stinger or Stature. They haven't picked one yet, but she's wearing the Stinger costume in the comics, where it's purple and everything, but her character name is Stature, I believe. With her performance, I felt like she wanted to try to be, a hero, be like her dad and stuff. But I felt like some of the lines and the delivery of that was really not hitting with me, and feeling like and also making her believable that she just not trying to be this hero in just like 2 seconds, right? I do believe, like, again, the aspect of family I felt was a strong suit in this film. as with this whole entire franchise and the Ant-Man franchise. But still, I felt this was really a disservice in terms of the overall story, where there was not a lot of stakes that was happening. And much as like you see the trailers, you think somebody's gonna die in this film. You think that there gonna be ramifications at the end, but still, I'm left at this film like, okay, what was the loss? What was there any type of ramifications that happened after this movie? Other than more of like a galactic multiversal stance, with Kang. But I'm like, because you're thinking, well, hey, did Ant-Man get left in the quantum realm in this movie? No. Did he die? No. Did anyone get killed? No. I mean, at least of importance, and then here you are, just like at the end of the film, I just felt just complacent, and I felt really kind of like I wasn't really satisfied. So that was what I kind of felt my overall impressions of this film and everything. But like, J.K., like, do you have any like disagreements or anything that I said, and then we kind of get to like more pinpoints of like what specifically that had an issue, like we had an issue with in terms of going into spoilers and everything?
Well, I'll say the because it's like it's in a point where I agree / disagree when it comes to things. I definitely agree that when it came to this film, there were some characters that got a lot more focus on than others. Like obviously, we knew that the most focus was going to be on Scott and Kang. We knew that like from the get-go. We knew that because Scott is, like, even though he's one half of the title, he is the man that started this trilogy. And of course, Kang being the big threat, we knew he was going to get the much focus as well. But you are correct in saying, like, Hope didn't really need to be here. Like, and honestly, the Wasp that got the most storyline and focus within this was Janet, which, yeah, she's the original Wasp. Like, okay, I guess that still technically counts in a way, but she's not the one wearing the suit anymore. Her daughter is. So, for Hope to really not have too much to do, I mean, yeah, I think that definitely says, like, there wasn't a lot that they needed for her, but since she was in the title and they didn't, like, this maybe would have been a little bit better if they just named it Quantumania. I mean, it already had the word Ant-Man within there, which, play on it and all that, haha, but, she didn't really have a lot to do. I definitely agree, outside of, just getting sucked into the quantum realm with everybody else. There, like, Scott obviously had a lot to do. Kang obviously had a lot to do. Janet had a lot to do. Cassie had a lot to do. Hell, even though Hank didn't have too much to do, he at least had some to do when it came to, especially, just to say, like, that ants scene, and also, with his whole, like, fighting back in a sense, like, basically fighting for the first time since the last time he put on the suit, if you really think about it. Like, actually fighting back for the first time since he gave the suit to Scott. So I say, at least for him, that's something. But when you were saying about if any character didn't, like, went through anything, I thought about it, and I think definitely after looking, because again, I didn't look at any reviews. I did not look at anything. Like, yeah, I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score when it came out, but I was like, look, I'm going to judge this film for myself, not based on what anybody else is saying, spoiler or non-spoiler review. I was like, look, I'm just going to judge this on my own. And after I saw the film yesterday, I was definitely like, okay, what were the marks when it came to this film? And I think what I can pinpoint is trust and honesty. That's probably the only central points when it comes to that, is not lying and also learning to trust within each other. Like, I say that trust part comes within Scott somewhat, because again, as you've noticed, as you said earlier, he's the one reaping the most benefits out of the events of Endgame. Everybody else is either dealing with trauma, having to take up new mantles or something. He is the only one that benefited from that, and it gave him an ego, and it was really Cassie that brought him back to earth and being like, hey, you keep saying, look out for the little guy. How about you actually look out for the little guy and, put him back to the mindset and the type of Ant-Man that he was back in his sequel film, I should say, and back during the events of Endgame, like, bring him down to reality and not let him, like, basically Die That Ego Down was basically Scott's journey, as well as, you know, the continuation of always caring for Cassie, which of course that the heart of family is and will always be a central point when it comes to these films. So I'm at least glad that that's still there. And the lying part that I was talking about comes in the form of both Kang and Janet, because again, a lot of things in this film could have been avoided or at least known if Janet actually said something. But just to say she didn't, and because of that, they didn't know what to do. And it's more along the lines of that she, you know, almost in the same sense of Kang not telling her who he really was. You know, again, not trying to get into too much because I know we still have a lot to talk about, but you know, I say trust and honesty is probably the only central themes when it comes to this film, and really the lessons that anybody learned was for Scott to, you know, for him to actually say, not do, and for, you know, everybody else to not have, you know, false trust within one another. I say that's like the only thing. I wouldn't say there's nothing that any character learns, but I'm definitely saying it's not seen as much as the visual spectacle of the quantum realm, which I say a lot of people wanted to shut on the VFX, but you can at least say for the quantum realm, the combination of VFX and also what they did with the volume, you know, the same technology from The Mandalorian, that looked good. But I think, you know, amongst the spectacle of the sci-fi fantasy, which hell, I've even seen some people compare it to like, wait a minute, am I watching a Star Wars film or something like that right now? And by the way, Trash Can, no, don't undo your ticket. Go watch it. Go away. Go watch the film. You know, some people are saying like, you know, this feels a little different here, you know, than we're used to. I think the messages really do get lost within the visual spectacle. Because again, I'm not saying nothing was learned here. I mean, yeah, I would have definitely liked for there, you know, for what we'll get to what happens in the end to be just a little bit different. I am glad that they acknowledge, like, did we actually do something? Because, you know, there's still a bunch of other Kangs out there. So, you know, are we good, or are we about to get screwed soon? Like, you know, at least they acknowledge that, and they're like, okay, maybe we should at least keep an eye out because something might happen. Which again will get expanded upon in other stuff. But I say this film is it's in a war between being an Ant-Man trilogy, like being the ending of an Ant-Man trilogy, and being the setup for what a few films and series are going to touch upon within phase 5 and phase 6, you know, what it's, you know, what's going to touch on. It's in a war between it's in a war between a finale and a beginning, which unironically, this film is both an ending and a beginning. It's at war with that. It can't pick one lane of being the setup or the ending, which kind of puts it in this mixed feeling, which is probably why there's so many mixed reviews when it comes to this film. But I mean, yeah, in terms of anything like, you know, disagreeing, it's also within a mix for me. There are some things that I definitely agree with, like, yeah, some things should have definitely gotten a bit more elbow grease, or this character should have had some development. But at the same time, there are still things that I like about this film. And at least it's not like, you know, there are some things that I would definitely take away from this. It's in the middle. This is a very, like, not mid movie, but middle ground opinioned story. Like, it's hard to choose whether it's good, whether it's a good ending or a good beginning, or a bad ending or a bad beginning. Like, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, well, I'll just say it for me. I just think, okay, we'll let's like get into more beat by beat at this point now. So one, now we had this relationship with Janet, with Kang and stuff, right? You know, her being stuck there, you know, so she was there before he was, right? He was sent there, which you later find out it was the Council of Kings who sent him there to be exiled. He didn't get lost there. He was sent there to be exiled. But then he had to build up his new his chair, that the device to have him, you know, travel through the multiverse and everything like that. But all of a sudden, you know, Janet, she gets a vision and everything, and then all of a sudden she sees like, oh, this dude, he annihilates timelines and all that stuff like that, right? All right, issue number one. We've heard this many different times about the obliteration of timelines and, you know, and incursions and all those other things and stuff like that, right? I'm saying, but have we actually seen it? We got a glimpse, like, you know, flashbacks, you know, or quick moments when she touched the device, but we actually have seen the actual obliteration of timelines, right? What stakes are we saying is not just you, Thanos, being wiping half of a planet, which we have seen. No, which you're wiping out an entire existence, entire universe. What to that scale that as an audience member, I'm like, okay, whoa, this dude, was supposed to be bigger than Thanos and everything like that. You see headlines of it. What are we seeing that to give him the almost the respect that Thanos got, right off the rip? I'm just saying this because my issue is like this. In the first 5 minutes of Infinity War, they showed you, Thanos was not to be fucked around with, right? And not only did he got the Power Stone, he's like, hey, by the way, I wiped out, in Guardians of the Galaxy, I wiped out Xandar, got the Power Stone. Yeah, they're screwed. I already handled them. Hey, by the way, Thor, I just wiped out half your people after they already got obliterated and stuff by, so I wiped your folks. And then all of a sudden, hey, by the way, I killed the first villain of the Avengers, who, by the way, I sent to do my job by bidding for me, and he failed, so I'm just going to kill him in front of your own brother. Also, I'm going to take down the strongest Avenger, the Hulk, and, make him my bitch, right? And then
and he killed his best friend in Heimdall.
Right, and he killed the best friend. So, like, all the things is one after the other, after the other, after the other, and boom. That's where I'm like, okay, you got my respect. Now, have we seen Thanos before in other previous films? Yes, we've seen him in Guardians of the Galaxy, like still sitting in the chair and all stuff like that, right? Which is like a running. Like, is he gonna get up out of that chair? But then but like my point was saying that when I think it was around Age of Ultron, when the end credit scene of like when he said, okay, fine, I'll do it myself. Then that's when it's like once he got into the battlefield and everything, that's when everything, you feel the more gravitas with it. And then with Jonathan Majors here, I just felt that, on the one hand, his performance, is like, I felt was very captivating, but everything. And I don't think really my issue was his performance. It's just that the story they gave him in this particular film, I felt just did him a disservice and not really kind of, and this being the villain or the variant that we're going to have for Kang Dynasty, I'm like, really? This is it? That's where I was kind of left, scratching my head, like, there need to be more of this. But I didn't think like he gave a good performance. He gave more of like a Shakespearean type of villain and everything like that. But I was just kind of just trying to see like what was going on with the fact that. And I want to make sure that I'm explaining this in the right way. And I hope you please stay with me. It's like there is ways of terms of building a villain that's in terms of make him have a sense of a presence that when he comes up on screen, that's like, okay, now you have my level of like gravitas and everything. And now it's like for example, Homelander, when you fill in the boys, right? You don't know what he's going to do. And even after every season, the tension is built up to a point where it's like, even when him just having a conversation, like, if you gonna laser this dude brains out,
right?
And that's the thing. And I'm saying the way the tension they build out with Homelander, that's where I'm like, that is how you establish a villain. Now, you don't have to make it rated R where you gotta be ripping off people's, be gore, but we're still, in the House of Mouse, right? But still, I felt the way they could have just done that is get like when he's on screen is realize you saying he's on a par on Thanos. Thanos had that because he showed that in the first 5 minutes. Now, shout out to Jonathan Majors on his performance. Like when he's on screen, I am leaning forward. I am feeling like, okay, I want to know more. But that's what I'm saying. Give me more, not just his performance. Give me more in terms of the story, screenwriter. That's what I'm talking about. So you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying. I mean, again, looking back at this film, it's like, yeah, it was mostly like, show, not show. It was mostly tell instead of show. But again, I think that was also in some ways intentional because, again, this was the exiled Kang. Like he was booted away into the quantum realm, and as we learned, like, remember, and, for people how we learned in Doctor Strange that incursions were happening. We now know the incursions are happening because of the multiversal war with all the Kangs. That's what's causing all these universes to, get obliterated, along with this, exiled Kang, which is what we'll call him because, again, that mid-credit scene, and end credit and end credit scene. The exiled Kang, he was basically booted away so that way he couldn't do any more of that. And even after he got his armor back after tricking Janet, and you think the scenes where it's like, okay, now he's got his armor and he's also got his, his at the moment dynasty, until the actual one at the mid credits. You're like, okay, is he going to do something? And yeah, he definitely shows an imposing threat. Like Jonathan Majors kills it with like making you feel like, again, you say like, you don't know whenever Homelander is going to do something. If you notice it like he went from calm at the beginning to completely unhinged and not logically thinking as well, by the final battle of the film, that it resulted to him, instead of using, any of his tricks that he used previously within this film, to basically hand-to-hand fist-to-fights it. And I was just like, we're not at Creed 3 yet, Jonathan. I think you can hold back a month. I will say,
right,
that unhingedness I can definitely see within Kang. And again, his cockiness and his his too much what's the word? Like confidence in himself definitely led to
ego.
Thank you. His ego, definitely led to his downfall when it came to this film. But I will say, it would have been nice, like either when Janet had touched the, if they made it a little bit longer rather than quick flashes of, battles and him killing civilizations, which again, if you pause the movie, you can you can't pause it now. You can pause it when it's on Disney Plus. But when you pause the film, you could see him destroying other civilizations, but maybe it would have been nice to also see, even if it was CGI, see him kill a version of the Hulk or kill a version of Thor, or hell, even when Scott and Cassie are, I know it would have been a stretch because again, quantum realm, but if in one of the cells was also a fallen Avenger, like maybe an older, like old disgruntled Tony Stark, we just didn't know who the actor who was playing him was, and then Kang just like kills him for no good reason, or something, again, I get it. He was exiled and he was stuck in the quantum realm. So he literally couldn't do shit until the end of this film. And now his other variants are going to be doing that stuff that we wanted to see within this film, again, within the next season of Loki and wherever else they could potentially pop up within the Marvel universe that we don't know they could. Because again, he could show up at any point in between now and Kang Dynasty, outside of Loki, which we already know about. But I think, yeah, it definitely would have been nice. I say again, even if it wasn't like, throughout the film, we see him killing like different versions of the Avengers, because again, he's confounded to the quantum realm. It would have been nice to have the scene where Janet touches his, the memory core of his time chair be a little more extended to see him killing other versions of the Avengers, or, being a little more, showing a little bit more of that imposingness. Because again, it's in the performance, but when it comes to the other stuff, that's not just the performance of Jonathan Majors. Because again, a performance is just one part of an actor. And I know that very, very well. Like, a performance is just one part of the actor. It's also the setting, the story that they're giving, and everything that also goes into that performance. And listen, Jonathan Majors kills it as Kang. I am ready to see this guy in his other appearances. But, it would have been nice to show, like, maybe before he went unhinged, like, he just, even if it's like, for some random reason, like, I don't know, he crushes one of MODOK's arms just out of spite, or he destroys a platoon of his
wait. He
doesn't need to be hold on.
Wait.
What?
Speaking of that.
Well, before we get into MODOK, I was just saying, like, show the unhinged. Look, can I finish my sentence before we start MODOK? I was saying, if you show a little more unhingedness when it comes to Kang, then okay, before, the final battle, then maybe that would have helped a little bit, as well as, the flashback scene being extended. Okay. Now MODOK. All right, go ahead. Roast him. Roast Derek. I know you've been waiting for it.
No. That as a visual effects, person, I'm in, design and everything like that. I've done a little bit of animation before, but I'm like, as someone who have any sense of, as from a technical perspective, the fact that they thought this was a finished product, this is malpractice. This is malpractice. Like, first of all, I know I made jokes about Spy Kids and everything like that, but like, literally every scene he was in, it was really like, it took me out. It took me out, right? And this, I know he's supposed to be a ridiculous character. That's basically what it is and everything, but I was really just baffled. And I was sitting next to like my friend, friends were watching this film. I was like, really, they thought this was a finished product. That's a damn shame. That's a damn shame. Like, first of all, we can talk about, MODOK and everything with being Darren Cross, or who was Yellow Jack in the first film, and how when he got sucked in the quantum realm, but like all what happened was his head just got larger and messed, and then and Kang took him and everything, and then made him MODOK, mechanism, only design mechanism of what's the, I forgot the acronym, what it stands for, J. King.
Mechanical organism designed only for killing.
There you go. Yeah. Which I will say this though, I did like the addition of giving him a metal face as a mask. That way they can save the visual effect of doing his face all the time. But either just do that instead of going with what they did with him, because then I know fans will have complained. I'm not gonna lie. I know fans will complain if it's like, oh
yeah, there would have been complaints about MODOK regardless.
But no, listen, like they could have made him I know there's I think there was rumors or when the leaks came out saying like, oh, he's probably like a drone, right? But that was just him having a metal face and everything, not like, oh, he's just a drone with the floating head and everything, right? No, it's actually like a helmet, and that's him, right? But I'm just like, don't if you're gonna go all the way, go there. But I'm just like, if you don't think the visual effects was not up to par, and I'm like, that literally took me out of the film. And consistently everybody was saying what they did with that character and what in terms of his animation and everything like that was absolutely ridiculous, right? Especially at the end of him just now saying like, oh, I am not a dick, and then just and switch to being a hero and everything like that, and like, well, at least I died as an Avenger. Scott, you were always a brother to me. He's like, I'm a dick. Look at me. I'm a dick. Like, I mean, literally, that's how they did in the film. It was ridiculous. Hey, Jake, can you there?
Yeah, I didn't know it was my turn to speak about that.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, again, as he said, MODOK, who, unlike in the comics and in the video game was George Tarleton, is Darren Cross, aka Yellow Jacket from the first film. Hell, we even saw what was basically a yellow jacketed, MODOK version of him. He got saved by Kang, baby booty and all, put into the suit. And I'll say this, I definitely agree. Mask on, that faceplate on, looks a hell of a lot better. And honestly, y'all could have had the faceplate on the entire time. Even if it was revealed as Darren, you could have had the faceplate on the entire time, and I really wouldn't have mind. And again, remember when I said that I had only two gripes when it came to this film? One was that Hope didn't have too much to do. The other wasn't necessarily MODOK entirely, because I didn't mind him in this film. The only thing I didn't like is, again, as you said, how it ended. Because it all of a sudden, he after one conversation with Cassie after she kicks his ass, going giant size for the first time in the quantum realm, which honestly, that was a badass scene of her going, giant size and all that for the first time, experiencing what Scott did, does anyone have any orange slices? But, besides that, you know, the all of a sudden, like, I mean, Darren Cross was always like a jokey, like foolish character who had this like sense of like unhingedness within him as well back in the first film. So I expect him to do some stupid shit sometimes, but that was definitely like why? Like you could have just had Modoc like passed out, knocked out. Hell, even potentially that punch could have killed him for all I cared. Like, you know, that could have been the end of him, or I don't know, maybe I don't know, maybe at least like Kang, but like it's not like Kang betrayed him. It's not in the sense of like, oh, Kang betrayed him. It's like, you weren't getting anything, and it's not like he's joining the good guys, but more sense just trying to get vengeance on Kang, and then he gets killed. It's like, oh, you know, after one conversation with Cassie, he's like, "But look at me, I'm a dick, I'm a douchebag. Like, what do you expect from me?" It's like, "Well, have you tried not?" And he's like, "Oh, okay." It's like, the fuck, like that was the like out of
Right.
every
She's saying, hey, no, well, hey, Darren. He's like, Darren, it's never too late from not being a dick. And then boom, it just go away. And then just like
which, like, yeah, true. Like, yes, Cassie, it's never too late to not be a jerk, but that was like the quickest turnaround for a character, like not even caring if that it's Darren or Modoc or anybody. That was the quickest turnaround for any villain, just period. Like, huh? Like, why though? Like, it would make sense. Again, as I said, it would make sense if like Kang betrayed him and he was just trying to get like revenge on him, like trying to kill him for trying to kill him, and then Kang like actually kills him that time. That's a different story. You want to take Modoc out like that? Okay, that makes sense because Modoc's unhinged. But all of a sudden doing the good guy thing, it's like Darren Cross, from what I remember, and again, I've watched the first Ant-Man film multiple times. One of my favorite films with Marvel to revisit, you know, every so often. He never really had this like good guy quality to him or this sense of redemption, to be honest. Like this is like Cassie, this is the same guy who, because Scott whooped his booty, went to your house to try and kill you back when you were like what, 7, 8?
right, exactly. And I just felt like with this, with just like, okay, it was mustache twirling villain. Hey, I'm just a dick because that's who I was written to be, right? You know, but my thing with this was just like with the whole Modoc thing, it's like this person who's supposed to be like, you know, is egotistical and everything like that, you know, in the first film, and then just now that he's Modoc, is like, okay, one, obviously in the film they made him like that was one part of the comedic relief into the villain where like when he's trying to monologue, like I was trapped in the corner realm when you know, when I was in Cassie's room and blah blah blah, and all of a sudden, like, oh wait, oh Modoc, yeah, okay, that's what it stands for, right? And then when Hope and everybody was looking back and before he dies, like Darren, that you, like oh my god, like what happened? Like yeah, I know you changed your hair, you know, just like. You know, stuff like that. It was just like, it was stupid. But, you know, again, at least I died an Avenger. I'm just like, you're like, yeah, you're in. Like,
Yeah, at that point, I'm like, okay, I think both that punch, I think Cassie's punch gave you like a brain to like default like dysfunction or something.
yeah, something, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. But shout out to Information Man in the chat. Like I'm a great content creator on YouTube and everything. Make sure you go subscribe to him channel, Information Man. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you. But yeah, no, I just felt like that was just kind of just ridiculous and just with that, but he meant to be a joke. I really don't see him any type of future in the MCU because I don't see what anything they can do with his character, you know, moving forward. I mean, now with the entity Modoc, they can do someone else and make him, you know, somebody, whatever. But knowing Marvel, I'm like, okay, if they wanted to do something new and stuff like that, they could. But I'm just like, at that point, I don't think nobody can be asking for. We want Modoc back after watching this movie. We got Modoc, so now we're like, all right, at least we got him.
Well, I mean,
and out of anything, think about it. In the MCU, trying to be realistic, even though we're going abnormal and everything like that, if you're gonna put him in anything, you put him in an Ant-Man movie.
True. Very true. Like it really would have been weird anywhere else other than an Ant-Man movie to at least start with. But when you say like, you know, bring Modoc back potentially, I mean, yeah, it's in a similar vein that what I said about Taskmaster in Black Widow. It's not the original guy, and where did they get the idea for this from before? Like Kang just had this suit ready, and again, he's a multiversal traveler, so maybe he met George Tarleton and designed a suit in a similar way, for that. So maybe we could see, the OG Modoc George Tarleton later on down the line, if AIM ever resurfaces after the events of Iron Man 3, which, if they ever want to bring back AIM, which I mean, it has come back multiple times, so who knows? They could do that. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure when it comes to Modoc. I would definitely like to see George Tarleton and the OG one come in. But in terms of it, if I'm really asking for it, nah, it's fine if they leave it here. But they could. But I'll say leave it.
Now, I want to talk about the next thing because I want to bring up Jonathan Majors again. Now, at the end, we go into this. At the end, so apparently, he thought, he thought, hey, by the way, I'll show you a little quick teaser. Creed 3 coming to theaters in March 3rd, I believe. Whooping Paul Rudd's ass and everything. And but then he gets sucked into the device of the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But apparently he disappears, right? But when you don't know if he's dead, if he's not, whatever. But what I do know, watching that scene, I'm like, okay, well, the device that disappeared with him, like he almost disappeared, closed it. The device kind of closed in itself. That makes sense. Like where it just kind of like disappeared, whatever. So either that being like a multiversal energy thing now is like almost what he has the ability to go to different universes free will. Like he don't need a device anymore. He doesn't need a chair. Now he's in some way is a part of him, or he's through. And the Avengers Kang Dynasty, just a different variant, or something like that.
Well, I mean, if I were to give any theories about that, I mean, again, I know some people are immediately going to go the route of, oh, he's dead. Like we haven't done that before, where, especially when it comes to a character like this, they think, oh, he's dead. But again, we basically saw the same thing happen to Yellow Jacket, and then he came back as MODOK within this film. I say, if anything, he's not dead. Some people believe that he may be within the same state that Scott was when he was trying to shrink down the device to allow Kang to, activate his chair, that he could be stuck within that state. Or again, as you said, he could be somewhere else within the multiverse. I definitely think one of two things. One, this is somehow how they're going to turn this exiled version of Kang into an alternate version of the Beyonder, and that be the true villain for Secret Wars. And then, the Kang Dynasty is like, oh, we take on the 3 Kangs from the mid-credits, but then boom, exiled Kang comes back as the Beyonder, causes the rest of the incursions, boom, Secret Wars happens. Or 2, it leads him to something else that might aid him in, the events of Kang Dynasty. Like maybe this actually takes him to something that will actually help him. Because again, he basically lost his supposed dynasty that he would have conquered, the entire multiverse and even fought back the other versions of Kang with. But what if this takes him to some other type of army that he could take over, or this other type of power source that could rival the other Kangs that, of course, we'll talk about in a minute. Whatever the case may be, I do not think he's dead. I think this is more putting him away for now while we see other versions of him, but this one will definitely be back, because again, if they're saying this Kang is the big threat, then maybe this is just one form of him. Maybe when he comes back again, either in Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars, wherever he went to, he'll come back a changed man, not changed personality wise, but changed, like he's much more dangerous and much more unhinged, dangerous, and powerful and godly than the other Kangs out there that we've seen and have yet to have seen.
Yeah, because I think I actually want to break down the end credit scene just literally at this point as we kind of close, this discussion and everything, because I think you made a lot of good points. It's just someone who actually did enjoy the film for some parts of it and everything, but I want to talk about like what's the next point, where this going into, right? Because I think the only thing really to talk about in this film is the end credit scene. That's just my personal opinion. But because when we went to the press screening, They said the spoiler review embargo, right, isn't the 27th, the week after the movie comes out, right? Now, usually you get stuff like that for like Star Wars, Infinity War, and everything, like previous Marvel movies that had like spoilers and everything like that. But I'm like, wait, why are you having with this film and it being a week later? Like, are you serious? Now, usually that's a bad sign. Just when they leave, just when any film or when the critics are being notified, hey, don't give a review about this movie until the day the movie release, because they know the movie's crap. That's the thing. Anytime you have that, when we still have not heard a review embargo left until the day of the release, usually because the film is crap. And and they don't want to put that because that'd be bad press and not preventing people from going to see your film. All right, so that's just a one-on-one for you guys, right? But with this at the end, so all of a sudden here we are. We're in. You see the Council of Kings, right? Literally, this scene. And as I was doing research, they did this scene almost beat by beat, like this shot. They recreated it, right?
Yeah, like the final shot of the mid-credit scene they recreated. But yeah, as you said, mid-credit scene, we see the Council of Kings. We see all these Kangs, and again, that shot right there recreated right before the credits roll again, before the next end credits. But we more importantly focus on 3, a futuristic Kang.
I got the picture right here for it. 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, but I'll explain. I'll explain who they are. So we have 3 Kangs. We have some type of futuristic Kang that wasn't really couldn't really be identified that much, but he had this like cybernetic tech. We had Rama Tut, who is the first ever actual appearance of Kang the Conqueror in the comics back in the Fantastic Four issue 14, I think. I might be wrong in the number, but it was back in the original run of the Fantastic Four. He showed up as Rama Tut, as this Egyptian pharaoh, but they knew he was a man from the future, and he was the first ever incarnation of Kang, before Kang would then appear again in the Avengers comic as his true self. And then the other one being Immortus, the elder Kang, with a lot of knowledge and a lot of power, and hell, even sometimes is somewhat a good Kang, kinda. The good Kang more or less goes to Iron Lad at this point, but we got 3 different versions of Kangs. And again, shout out to Jonathan Majors for being able to, within a small scene, distinguish every single one of them. Like, some have raspier voices, some sound older, even if they don't look older. Some sound like they have this like weird accent thing going on, but at least he is distinguishing them by presence and by tone. But yeah, they are basically like, okay, the exiled is dead, but we didn't kill him. An Avenger did. If the Avengers are getting to the point where they could actually take us out, we may need to stop them like right now. So let's actually not waste time and start, we need to get rid of the rest of these universes. So I think we just basically saw the Council of Kangs give the approval to speed up the incursions in a sense. But yeah, these 3 Kangs most likely will be at least somewhat of a threat within Kang Dynasty if, again, none of them show up in any other thing, which at the very least, maybe Rama Tut in Fantastic Four, which by the way,
they're
casting that right now, but they're casting the Fantastic Four right now, so who knows, maybe Rama Tut might make a cameo. Again, that was his first appearance, but again, if we don't see them anywhere else, these will most likely be the central Kangs outside of the exiled Kang that'll show up in Kang Dynasty and potentially in other ones. But yeah, this is basically, the incursions are about to be sped up, and who knows, maybe we'll actually start to see those ramifications just on the sidelines or get notified in other series or movies going forward that we might just not know that is going to happen. So that's what that mid-credits was.
Right. I think, you absolutely said it. I believe the next wave part of seeing him in the MCU, right, could be either 2 things. One, if they're doing a Young Avengers type of, spin-off, either show, whatever like that. Obviously that's they can have the younger variant. I think that'd be a missed opportunity, even though it's kind of be somewhat counterintuitive, because you have Ironheart and then you have Iron Lad, and it's like, okay, which one you're gonna do? And it's like, but having a younger version, Iron Lad is so pivotal to the Kang storyline.
Yeah, because he's a young Kang. He is a young version of Kang that doesn't want to be Kang. Right,
and I'm trying to find the picture here, but but I do believe for the Fantastic Four, the film, the villain, what they should do, because there's always been conversation about how they're going to introduce them and everything. Are they going to be from a different universe, or going to be like the Lost in Space or whatever? I think you'd make it as, because they're Marvel's first family, right? The fact that you have them in a displaced in time story where he fights them in Egypt, whatever, with the Fantastic Four, and they fight the Ramatut version, which is this version right here, the one on the far left, right, which is one of his first appearance in the comics, right, and that would kind of make it also tied into other characters too, like Apocalypse, right, from the X-Men.
True.
You know,
Very
so
true.
I think again you can kill two birds with one stone, and have that storyline of as your first film, them being placed in a different timeline, but we have to fight this version of Kang, Ramatut, and then we go into Avengers Kang Dynasty with the whole who's the variant that we're gonna fight, like King to Conquer or whatever, right?
Hell,
I think that's
actually, to build upon what you're saying right there, I definitely agree. Like, the Fantastic Four film, which you're saying, like, them being displaced in time, that's always something that I've brought up. It's like, again, they're Marvel's first family. But in terms of the MCU's timeline, we've had all these different teams already. So how are you going to make them that special? I've always advocated, like, well, they'd be Marvel's first team, but they disappeared for some reason. Have them be pulled out of time by someone like, I don't know, like Ramatut, get pulled out of time, and then they had to deal with him in order to get back. And then it ends with them in current day, having missed everything within the MCU, but they're caught up and they're one of the few people out there. And I don't know, maybe they run into Scott Lang and they run into Loki. Again, you assemble the characters that do know about Kang. You assemble them by the end of that.
Right. I just think like the way, I mean, that should be a missed opportunity for them. They don't, do that, but
yeah, at least include him. At least include Ramatut, if anything.
Right. Yeah. Because I don't know. I'm just like, they showed him that I didn't like. Here's the thing. Much as I like the end credit scene in terms of like, okay, they gave us the Council of Kings. I really did not like how they looked. I definitely didn't like how Ramatut looked, because that was just, it looked like he is in a CW show or trying to even be like in the theater.
Okay, listen.
I'm being serious. Like, that I can't pull the picture up because of spoilers, but like straight up, I'm like, and why do you got this one Kang version look like damn Brainiac from Justice 2?
True. Okay, I'll give you that one.
So yeah, that's what I'm like. Hold on, let me see. Let me get this version right here. Picture.
Yeah. Well, again, maybe Ramatut will look a lot better by then.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but I just kind of just felt like that because we have seen like at least hints of Ramatut and Moon Knight and other shows like that, but like there are different versions of him and Iron Lad and him, and the back of it, like you see Immortus. I was glad to see them add him and everything, but He Who Remains was kind of like he took some versions of him of different Kangs and to give his performance and stuff like that. Because like when Jonathan Majors was interviewed, saying like, "Hey, what's your difference between He Who Remains and Kang Conquer?" Like they're nothing alike, right? So I thought that was just kind of very interesting though. But and then the second end credit scene we see is them sometime probably in the 20s, and you see a version of Kang that look like fucking Frederick Douglass. Happy Black History Month for y'all. And then you see Loki, and you see Mobius in the audience, and Loki's like, that's him. Like, this is the guy you're supposed to be fearing and everything like that. It's like, and then it cuts away, and it says, not Ant-Man returned, Kang will return. So
yeah, but hold on. Before then, there was something that someone brought up back from the mid-credit scene, because someone like looked at like all the Kangs that we could see, like in the arena, in the Roman style arena, and we see like variations of like green and purple, some different versions, even one that may have been another one of Kang's identities as the Red Centurion. But we also see this one that's in a business suit. Now, I think, remember how we've all been wondering who bought Avengers Tower, and how in Loki season 1 we saw a destroyed Avengers Tower with the word Kwang on it? Well, that might have been version of Kang, because I actually have read the storyline. There was actually a time displaced version of Kang known as Mr. Gryphon, I think, who buys Avengers Tower off of Tony when he goes broke and names it Quang Industries. So heck, who knows? Maybe we saw who did buy Avengers Tower. But yeah, anyways, the Kang that we saw in the end credits with Loki, that's obviously setting up Loki season 2 for Loki to, you know, go up against this version of Kang, is another one who established this type of tech in the 20th century in the comics and was even friends with and inspired Howard Stark even. So there is a lot that could definitely be played upon with this version. And some say that maybe he's also the one that started and inspired the TVA for all we know. So, there's definitely a lot to go with this. The story of this is definitely to not be trifled when it comes to Loki season 2. But yeah, those are the 2 end credits.
Yeah, I think Loki season 2, like, again, I actually really enjoyed Loki season 1, but but like what they have, in terms of, like, again, in the second season, then letting that flesh out will come later, like summer 2023. So it won't be that long until we not see the series and hopefully get more exposition of Kang and everything. But I felt my issue was with, if they gave the scene they gave, and I'm looking off with this point, it's like, if they gave the scene with the He Who Remains, right? At least that type of exposition they gave to make you like, okay, knowing what's going on, and then put that in the movie instead of the show, I thought that would have been more powerful. Like, that would have been more powerful. Because listen, no, Disney Plus, they just announced they lost about, what was it, 2.5 million subscribers on Disney Plus, right? And so a lot of people are now watching the shows. In the grand scheme of things, that's not your profit. Yes, you get that, what, 11, was it, no, 12.99 or so a month. No, it was 10.99 a month, right? On Disney Plus subscriptions.
It's 10.99. Yeah, it's 10.99. I know because I've been paying since like day one.
Right. And then also, yes, you might get the recurring revenue, but really the big bucks is what you get in terms of breaking billion-dollar box offices, right? So that's not the fact of, like, when you we'll just explain the missing plot points in this movie in your Disney Plus show, and by what, give us 10.99. Like, no, we ain't gonna do that. So I was just like that. I was just feeling like with that type of exposition they gave in Loki season 1, I love that. But they gave that type of dedication in the movies and stuff. That's why I was just like, okay, that would have been better. But even then, when I'm leaving out, I'm like, why was Kang the villain of this movie? Like, I just feel like there could have been so much other things they could displace them in, and everything like that. If anything, they should just wait till Fantastic Four. I would have been fine. Like, fine, they didn't do Kang and Ant-Man. Like, make MODOK the main villain, right? As Darren Cross was the villain as Yellow Jack in the first movie, and then make MODOK the villain in the third movie instead of a side character, right? And then have Kang just be the, like, or version of him, Ramatut, whatever, be the version in not Loki season 2, in Fantastic Four. And then when we get to Kang Dynasty, then all of a sudden you have the Kang the Conqueror. But I don't know. I'm like, hey, I just watch these movies. I don't write them. So, but yeah. But anything else? J. King, you got, like, in terms of final thoughts, just in terms of this whole film and everything? I feel like we kind of hit everything we need to say.
Well, final thoughts. Again, at the end of the day, this isn't a perfect film. I still like it a lot. I still definitely like a lot of points. And you guys know me. As long as there is at least more than one thing that I can enjoy in a film, I'm never going to call a film unwatchable or bad or a waste of my time or a waste of my dollar, for a ticket, or of my snacks even. I'm never going to say that. And I still enjoy this film. I still enjoy the performances given within this film. I still enjoy, the overall feel of this, and also the fact that we didn't waste time in getting to the quantum realm. It's not like it took half the movie to get us there. And again, Jonathan Majors kills it as Kang the Conqueror, and even with the performances of his other variants that we saw for a brief second within the credit scenes. And again, I like a lot of the characters within this film, but there was definitely a lot more to be desired. I think the desire comes from half of things that could have been done, but also half of the overhype. Like, yeah, Kang's in this film. Of course, we're going to be hyped to see the villain that will be the villain for the next two phases of Marvel that just now has started, be introduced. But hyping this up as the Civil War for Ant-Man or the Infinity War for Ant-Man brings a lot of expectations, especially for a series that before this film, a lot of people were giving crap about for being the kiddie or the lighthearted side of the MCU, But as a longtime Ant-Man fan and someone whose faith in this industry for Marvel hasn't died away, I say this isn't a bad film. It's not the best. I wouldn't say again, for me, it's a rating of like a B- at the very least, a C+ at the most. Could I rewatch this? Hell yeah, I can rewatch this once it comes out on digital and on Disney Plus.
Next month.
Ever? Is it? I know. Is it the best film ever? No. But is it enjoyable? Yeah. Is there a lot that could have been done though? Yeah. And I think that definitely goes to show why at this point, especially after the reaction to Phase 4, which so funny enough being the reactionary phase to the Infinity Saga, why they are shifting things back, delaying some series, delaying some films. I mean, hell, the Marvels, which by the way, we just got our first poster for that, got delayed from until November. It's still coming out this year, but it got delayed until November. So the question is they're obviously thinking, okay, we don't want Phase 5 or Phase 6 to completely alienate or throw away all our fans. So I think now they're definitely in a state of reshuffling, taking a step back. And now it's just in a case of wait and see what happens with the rest of these projects and the overarching story for Phase 5 and 6 with the MCU. Is this just one tiny little bad apple in a sea of what could be other good content? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? This phase just started and we have a lot to be desired. Again, I like it. I would change some things, but I still like this film at the end of the day. So for me, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, you didn't fail me. I just wish that some things were a bit different.
Okay. So, I mean, I appreciate your comments and everything, man. Yeah, because for me, I was very disappointed with this film. I really did want it to make this film to kind of be the breaking, almost the curse of the fate Marvel Phase 4 that a lot of people was talking about. But honestly, I feel like this film was dealing with the residue of it and everything. So I think it's only just a matter of time. Hopefully, just to wait for it. But even then, when we experience She-Hulk, Thor: Love and Thunder, Multiverse of Madness and stuff like that. Yes, you can say you find good parts in it and stuff, but really, I'm as a fan, I'm just kind of becoming just more complacent in terms of content that they're presenting. I'm not asking you to give me Infinity War every property that you give me. No, but I'm saying it just give me just terms of quality. I know you guys could produce. That you've been doing that for the last 10 years. So I'm just saying, just to know who you are. But at this point now, it's just I don't want it to be oh, well, now we got you, so now we really don't need to do anything to keep you, right? Because we already got your money, and everything, because you've been sticking us for 10 years. So, you're already emotionally detached. But again, as I said before, the violent delights will have violent ends. And I do believe that if they don't get their act together, especially with the next few properties, by the end of 2023, trust and believe you're going to be seeing things can be going different, right? Especially before they get into Fantastic Four, especially before they get into Deadpool and the X-Men, which we all want and waiting for. We got reports now they got the store for Spider-Man 4, and which I already knew we're going to get Spider-Man 4 before Kang Dynasty, but definitely before Secret Wars. We're going to get a Spider-Man movie. And it's going to probably be multiverse or something like that, the Doom Miles or something like that. I already knew that's going to happen. But anyway, but those are the only things I felt in the grand scheme of things. Think about this. why is it? Asked Jay King about this, but like me personally, like, why is the only reason why we care about this whole multiverse saga? There's only three things: Spider-Man, which we got, but then we can get more of it with Miles and other, versions of Spider-Man with the Spider-Verse. But it's Sony, so really Marvel. You have Fantastic Four, which we got with Multiverse of Madness, but then they killed his ass, or at least that version of him. But we don't even know who's Mr. Fantastic and Reed Richards. We don't know who he is until they give the announcement later this year. And then you have the X-Men. We get the tease of Kamala Khan being a mutant and Namor and all stuff like that. Oh, where's the other X-Men and what's different version? Oh, we got Hugh Jackman coming back, so all that stuff. And I believe that's the main thing. But as much as we are looking forward to that, it's like I'm asking Marvel, like, in terms of like, we know they're coming, but if you continue to keep like making us wait for this stuff, almost at this point where some people will be like, I don't care anymore. Right. And that's what I just feel that's going to happen. Whereas like after we get this payoff of, of these cameos and stuff like that, because listen, with Multiverse and Madness, the Professor Xavier and Reed Richards showing up, that was the loudest they were in the theater in that entire movie. You can't tell me that wasn't the most rewatched part of that film, right? So now you have this, and I'm like, okay, all right, what was lead to multiverse and stuff? What am I gonna see some different versions of characters? All right, are we gonna see that? No, I don't really care. That's why I love Loki season 1. They did that. You had Sylvie, you had different versions of characters and everything like that. But again, it still led to there were ramifications and costs that happened with in terms of not only Kang and everything, but like this whole multiverse, you feel like time or reality itself is collapsing. This is what we thought was going to happen with WandaVision. And then look how that turned out, So I'm just thinking that me personally, like, I just want us as fans, I don't want us to be complacent in terms of the content they're giving us. Listen, they have done better. And be out there telling you, oh, this is what we're giving you, and yet therefore you should like it. No. I encourage film fans, and more importantly, I encourage Marvel fans, is not to be complacent and allow yourself to accept mediocrity as a standard for your content that you're presented as a customer. Because we're customers of this product, right? But at the same time, the customer is always right. But also knowing that, hey, listen, you've been a loyal customer for many, many years, and all of a sudden that'll give you bullshit. It's like, well, hey, we used to do for you, for me, but what have you done for me lately? So yeah, that's what I just kind of feel with that, man, and everything. But other than that, J King, anything else you have to say before I end the show? J King, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, all right. Your screen kind of frozen. Well, I think it's probably my end. All right. But yeah, any last words, man?
Nah.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, man. Thank you guys. This is Jedi Mike 7 and J King. This is our review for Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. If you guys have not seen the film, please go. I'm not telling you not to go see it. Enjoy yourself, because you might have a better experience than I did. But make sure you guys hit subscribe button, comment, like, and share. Let us know your thoughts about this film. Did you love it? Did you hate it or not? You can find J King on this channel, but you also can find the social media link down in the comment section down below. And you can find me here on this channel and also on their platforms as well. Make sure you hit the notification bell. We got content coming up soon and everything. We have a weekly, live streams, but also we're pushing out more content coming this year and everything, and going full throttle. But till next time, I'm Jedi Mike 7. Peace. We are out.
Is there anything you want the fans to know, or any last thing you want to say to them before we get to see this series tonight?
This is where the fun begins.
Hold on. Okay.